Ms. Campbell, you lied to Senator Grassley, didn't you?
No, Senator.
You told Senator Grassley that you've never represented workers' dignity, didn't you?
That is correct, Senator.
That's not true, is it?
Senator, I have never represented that organization.
Yes, ma'am. That's not true, is it?
Senator, it is true. I served for a period of 2 or 3 years, more than a decade ago, on an advisory board to help them set up as a nonprofit.
In fact, you were so supportive of workers' dignity that not only did you represent them, you didn't charge them a fee. Isn't that correct?
Senator, when I was on their advisory board more than a decade ago, I did volunteer my time.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Hot News Today. I just watched one of the most explosive Judiciary Committee hearings I've ever seen, and trust me, that's saying something. Senator John Kennedy didn't hold back. He questioned 2 judicial nominees, Judge Campbell and Judge Lipez, with the kind of southern fried fire only Kennedy can bring. Lies, light sentencing, forgotten victims. This one had it all. Let's break it down.
You know what this is? Do you recognize that picture?
No, Senator.
This is from Workers' Dignity's website. There you are, right here. It's got your name. Wow. Judge Lipez, you have more sympathy for the criminal than the victim, don't you?
Senator, I worked on behalf of victims of crime zealously as a prosecutor. As a judge, I listened carefully to understand impact on victims, and I have always take that into account.
So let's start with Miss Campbell. Kennedy went in hard, accusing her straight out of the gate. She denied it, of course, but then, boom, Kennedy pulls out receipts. She told Grassley she never represented an organization called Workers' Dignity. But Kennedy's got evidence, her name right there on their website. Not only did she represent them, she didn't even charge a fee, volunteered. And suddenly, the whole I don't recall thing starts to fall apart. It was brutal. Then it got darker. Kennedy turns to Judge Lipez and asks about a man named Micah Smith. The name doesn't ring a bell for the judge, but it should have.
Do you know Micah Smith?
Michael Smith, Senator?
Micah, M-I-C-H.
I don't believe I know a Micah Smith, Senator, no.
Okay. I bet the victims of Micah Smith remember Micah Smith. If you don't.
Senator, there was a defendant I sentenced named Michael Smith.
Mr. Smith molested a 4-year-old girl, didn't he?
Senator, he was convicted after trial of unlawful sexual contact under Maine law.
That's a nice way of putting it.
That was the charge, Senator.
Right. Mr. Smith molested a 9-year-old girl, didn't he?
Senator, again, he was convicted of unlawful sexual contact against 2 children. In that case, I did impose the sentence the state requested.
Turns out Smith was convicted of molesting not 1 but 2 young girls. Graphic details were read aloud. I won't repeat them all here, but it was deeply disturbing. Kennedy made sure everyone heard exactly what the victims had endured. And then, he hits her with the quote from her own sentencing remarks.
This is what you said at Mr. Micah's sentencing. These are your words, not mine. What I can say, you said, is that this is a very tragic situation of a person who has a lot of good in him. A lot of good in him. Having done a very reprehensible thing to 2 young children, causing extreme damage. Did I read that correctly?
Senator, in that case, I imposed the sentence the state requested.
Did I read that, your quotation, correctly?
Senator, that, I think, is a portion of what I said at sentencing. My focus was on...
But the words I read, are they correct?
That's what was reported in the paper, Senator. I have not seen a transcript of the sentencing.
I bet the victims remember, Judge. You might have forgotten, just like you forgot his name. But I bet the victims remember.
Wait, after that kind of crime, Kennedy wasn't letting that slide. So what happened to Smith? He got 12 years, but 6 were suspended. Kennedy asked if that was the judge's ruling. She said yes, but it was also what the state requested. But Kennedy wasn't done. He pulled up an article from the blasting light sentences in domestic violence cases. Judge Lipez said the article mischaracterized things, that the jury had acquitted the defendant of the most serious charges. But here's the thing, when it comes to public trust in the justice system, perception matters. And Kennedy drove that point home, again and again. As the hearing wrapped up, Kennedy didn't mince words. He told Campbell straight up, "Oof, that's a mic drop moment if I've ever seen one."
Case.
Are you familiar with the Bangor Daily News?
I am the Bangor Daily News senator.
Right. Did you read the article they wrote, quote, "Light sentences send a message that domestic violence does not matter," end quote. You remember that article?
I have read it, Senator. I believe it mischaracterizes a case that is
That was
described.
article was about you, wasn't it?
My recollection, Senator, is that it described several different cases. The case that I worked on that was described there, the defendant in that case was acquitted by a jury of the most serious conduct, and that was not reflected in that article. And so
the newspaper got it wrong.
that was an op-ed that I believe misunderstood what happened, which is the jury acquitted the defendant of the most serious conduct that he was charged with. I was not the fact finder in that case, and so at sentencing I was bound by the jury's verdict.
Hey, if you're still with me and you want more of these raw, unfiltered breakdowns straight from the Hill, hit that button right now. Don't miss the next hearing. You know there's always more drama coming. What we saw today wasn't just a heated exchange, it was a battle over trust. Trust in our judges, in our system, in the people we appoint to protect the law and the vulnerable. Whether you agree with Kennedy or not, his questions hit hard, and they echoed loud. Let me know what you think in the comments. Was Kennedy out of line? Or just saying what needed to be said? Until next time, stay informed, stay bold.